Good afternoon, everybody out there. This is Arjax coming at you again with another Let's Play World of Warcraft video. So I'm going to go ahead here and queue a dungeon. I already know what's going to happen. It's going to take quite a while for it to pop. I thought it was going to pop quicker because while I was running my scan of the auction house and, just listing my items and getting rid of all of the excess junk that I have in order to get rid of it, I went ahead and queued for it, and it popped pretty much instantaneously. Well, it's not going to pop for quite a bit, so I'm going to go over here and probably fly to the next zone and try to figure out where I'm going to want to go and do some quests. I'm actually getting quite fond of quests. Not, I wouldn't put them in the same category as running dungeons because it's not anywhere near running dungeons for me and as far as enjoyability. But, nonetheless, I do very much so enjoy running dungeons with you guys, and I'm getting to the point where I actually enjoy doing quests. So maybe after this character gets to level 90, we'll have to start another, just pure questing thing. So I make a little bit of a mistake here, and I pop off, and I'm thinking I'm just going to run across, and I was going to, but it annoys me, so I'm actually just going to hearth back. So, yep. So, alright now, we're going ahead and we're going to come up here. We're actually going to fly over to Ironforge because the zone that I want to get to is pretty much adjacent to Ironforge. And so I'm going to fly out there and actually get to where I need to go through Ironforge. So, I'm going to go ahead and skip this flight zone because I don't like sitting around being bored while flying to places. But it's actually going to, it's going to get interrupted because the dungeon is going to pop. So I'm going to skip to that point. Alright, as you can see up in the top left, we're about 4 minutes and 30 seconds in the queue, and it's really weird because for the majority of this time it's been myself and a healer waiting for the dungeon to pop. That's abnormal. Normally, DPS is the one waiting on healers and tanks, not the other way around. So, that's pretty cool. Definitely a plus. The more heals and tanks we get, the more people that are going to be able to enjoy the dungeon. And, that's just going to trickle down. There's going to be more, tanks and DPS out there wanting to, or there's going to be more DPS that, are going to get a fond experience with dungeons and be like, hey, you know what? Maybe I can tank. Maybe I can do this. As opposed to there just being a select few. So I know I've run this dungeon with you guys before, so I might edit it out. This dungeon group is fairly poor. Not a big fan of it. Just, overall, there's a bunch of substandard DPS going on. The healer, as much as I don't like to say it, was a little bit substandard in the area of healing. And it just goes on for a bit longer than this dungeon, in all respect, should go on for. That's not to say that I don't make mistakes, because as you're going to see here, I do make a mistake. And I don't get all of the aggro for stuff, which does cause the healer to let somebody die. Not right here, but on this boss pull. So this boss pull, I go ahead and I'm going to pull the boss, and the warlock's actually going to die during this pull. And the warlock says it's because he pulled aggro and I didn't have aggro. He says it later on in the dungeon. That's not. Oh, I see what the warlock's actually talking about. It's those little coyotes. I don't even know where those came from. So yeah, that was definitely on me. And I didn't realize that those were there. So yeah, you know what? Shout out goes to the healer and the warlock out on that. I'm definitely sorry. That was definitely my fault. So, that's unexcusable. But stuff happens when you run dungeons. So something I actually found out that was very cool for me, anyways, is I can actually batch render stuff in the video editing software that I use, which is Sony Vegas Pro. Um, and that's been something that's really like hurt my ability to get multiple videos out per day, and even just the Let's Play WoW videos, the ones with the music and without the music. It takes so much time in order to render everything that it really kind of sucks. It doesn't suck, but it ends up taking a long period of time in order to just get those two videos out. Normally they're staggered a day in between, and it's not because there is definite big portion of downtime in between videos and time that I'm not going to be using my computer because I'm doing homework and other things. But the biggest area that of where stuff has been coming up has been with school, and so you record the video, and obviously the ones without the music are pretty much ready to go up instantaneously, whereas the ones without or with music rather, I have to go in and put the music in, and that doesn't take a whole lot of time. But what takes a lot of time, and where there's a bit of inefficiency on my part, is normally I wait till I'm done using the computer for the day, or I'm going to be away for like 3 or 4 hours, and I'll just go ahead and throw on the rendering, and I'll have it go ahead and render out the video files, and then I wake up, and if it only takes 3 to 4 hours to render the video file, then you're looking at accomplishing rendering that video by 3 a.m. Well, I'll be honest with you, I'm not going to set an alarm clock to wake up at 3 a.m., come and restart rendering another video, and then go back to sleep. What I am going to do, though, is just render it when I get up. Well, I discovered today that I can set up a batch rendering system where I can, select the videos and the content all in one video folder, and, label them what I want them to be labeled and render them all concurrently together, which is going to be awesome. So that means that if I record multiple videos in a day, that I can get them up the next day, all of them. And then the other argument is, well, why don't you just upload the raw video footage of the Let's Play WoW video with no music added? Well, the real issue with that is, a 30 for every minute, it's about 10 for every minute of video recording, it's about 10 gigabytes of space required to record that. So if I was to go and upload 10 gigabytes of space or of video per minute, so well, maybe that's not accurate. It's about a gigabyte a minute. So a 30-minute video is about 30 gigabytes, I do believe. Let me double check that. All right, so I was a little bit off. It's actually for about 30 megabytes. It's about 80 gigabytes of space that's recorded. So, yeah, absolutely. Now, with my internet connection speed being what it is, and it's pretty decent, but I only have about 5 megabits of upload speed, so that per second. So that translates to about 37 megabytes per minute. And so if I divide 82 gigabytes by 37.5 megabytes, it ends up, and then I divide those minutes that it takes by 60, it ends up being about 35 and a half hours to upload a 80 gigabyte file. Now, there's a lot of stuff that can go wrong in a time period of that nature, but more specifically, what the reality of the situation is once I render the video, it cuts it down to about 2 to 3 gigabytes each. So 2 to 3 gigabytes, even taking into account that it's going to take me 3 hours to render it, and then about, I'd say like an hour and a half to upload it. That is still significantly less time than it's going to take me in order to just upload the video directly. So that is why, the rendering process, even if I'm not adding any sound, video context, or anything like that, or editing, why it's still so much faster to actually go ahead and render it, even though it takes a buttload of time. Now, there's something else that I've been looking at, and oh my gosh, the healer is failing right here, like not even here. I guess it's kind of my fault. The healer's complaining that somebody needed on a piece of gear that they needed, but oh well, such is life. That's what happens when you run. That's what happens when you run dungeons, and it's just part of the course. Does it suck? Yeah, I'm gonna say it sucks, especially when you get gear, swiped out from you. So 1 second here. All right, here we go again. So yeah, you know, but at the same time, I still argue that you do need to actually do your job and stay with the group, even if you are complaining. Even putting somebody on follow and then typing, especially with healing gear or with healing, at least you're going to be in the same spot so that if you start seeing the group go down, they don't have to wait on you. If you want to talk in the game, put auto run on, type it out and do that, but stay with the group. That's the least you can do, and especially if you're in a uber critical role such as the healing role, you're definitely going to be able to accomplish that. So right here, this is pretty sweet. I'm actually able to get this quest done. And, I just think it's really cool to be able to get that done. So, yeah, getting this quest done is definitely probably the highlight of this dungeon. And it definitely makes it, worth running this dungeon. It's just one of those quests that, I never end up getting accomplished, and being able to get it accomplished in this dungeon was pretty surprising. I had high hopes for it, being as nobody ran over there to grab the quest, and so I'm just going to go ahead and, try to keep it so that I can actually go ahead and get that quest done. It doesn't appear that the group really knew what was going on as far as the quest and that goes. And to be honest, I wasn't going to point it out with not having it done myself, not this time. If there was somebody in the group that was, I don't know, what they could have done to make me want to give them the ability to turn in this quest on this run. But yeah, so I go back to see, what I'm doing right here is trying to figure out what the healer is actually complaining about, like what piece of gear. And it turns out to be a mug. Obviously, it's not the ogre pocket knife that somebody needed on. Although, I will be honest with you, the fact that the paladin is needing on everything is really annoying. And especially since, the paladin in this group is doing super low damage, as well as the warlock. They're down, they're doing half the damage I am. They're not even doing half the damage I'm doing, but the DPS that's being monitored. Total damage done, I'm just, wrecking face in this dungeon, and I'm going to wreck face the entirety of the dungeon. So, as a tank, they interrupt you while you try to collect that. So realistically, the tank that has the easiest chance, and kind of the biggest douchebag way of getting this quest done as far as tanking goes, because you really do abandon all of your entire role to do that, is the paladin. You can get it done really easy on a paladin because you're going to be the first one up. You run faster than everybody, so you can run up, and everybody will aggro on you, pop your bubble, and then just collect the quest. But in the time that it's going to take you to do that, you're going to drop all your aggro, and people are going to be, getting punched in the face. Where, as it's realistically your job to do it. So I get the quest. I want to turn it in because I can actually skip one of the bosses, and since we've already done this dungeon and I haven't, used this ability to show you guys how to skip the boss, um, it is definitely one of those things that I kind of want to showcase for you guys to so that you can see what's going on. So, like in good fashion of this dungeon, they don't wait for the healer. They don't be like, "Hey," or the tank. They're not like, "Hey, where are you?" No, they just run forward. And it was the paladin, as you can see. He dropped in health significantly, and then the war chief's gonna run up. I don't know exactly what the war chief is doing. If he was just picking up the aggro so it didn't go attack the lessly armored casters. But, definitely when I was running this, I didn't see Yak go straight at it. What I saw was War Chief go down, so I was like, what the heck are you doing? And I do believe he's taunted off me a couple times in the dungeon, so I was a little bit perturbed with what he was doing and how that was operating and everything that was going along with that. But thus is life, and if you're going to be running dungeons, you're going to run into these issues all the time. So the healer here, I'm like, WTF, heals, what are you doing? So, I run back, I'm trying to find the healer, I'm trying to, and I have no freaking idea what the healer was doing there. So I'm desperately trying to keep myself up. I don't want to get my 8th death of Let's Play WoW on this very easy, very simple dungeon that I've already ran with you guys. But, it could have happened. It nearly almost happened. So I'm like, holy cow, what is going on, heals? So, alright, so this boss coming up here is actually the boss that I'm going to use the ogre suit on. I had an issue with, initially, what I was thinking was, well, if the group doesn't stick back, I'm not going to be able to pull it off. Or if the group, or, just forfeiting the DPS that you're going to get by activating him. Not so much DPS, EXP is what I meant. So, pulling through this is fairly easy, and this is, we're getting close to the end of the dungeon here. So I go ahead and I pop my little ogre thing, and, I'm looking around, I'm like, holy cow, this is actually going to work. Nobody's going to punch him or shoot him or do anything like that. You just tap through your things a couple times, and he runs back doing what he's going to go do. But moral of the story is you don't have to fight him. So I came back because I'm not exactly sure if at that point if the DPS can negate the thing by punching him. So I just wanted to make sure that what was going on there was good and pure. So I waited up for the group because this can be a rather strenuous pull, as you saw in my first one. So I'm going to go ahead and pick up these guys and then go over to this other group here. What I forgot about these guys was that they do have a fear tactic, and they can fear your party members into other people and cause them to, aggro people. And you're going to see that happen. There goes the paladin that's been nothing but issues in this dungeon for the most part. Needing on gear, upsetting the healer, doing substandard DPS. But I'm not upset with anybody. I'm in full heirloom gear, and so is the warrior. So we're doing more DPS than what we really should. But at the same time, I can kind of see why the paladin isn't doing all that much damage, as he just ran around in a loop around the people there. So, maybe he's just kind of AFKing. I don't know what he's doing. But yeah, he's definitely running in a circle, and I don't know why or how it would be beneficial for him to do DPS or even heal or do anything by running in a circle around the mobs that were pulled. But yeah, that was one of the biggest things right there. I didn't see. I'd already started pulling before the healer had called out mana. So initially here, I'm a little bit concerned that the warrior is going to go up there and pull the boss, but um, it certainly doesn't appear to be that way. I thought that the warlock right there was actually the healer, so I wanted to make sure that I stayed with him, but it turned out he wasn't, and I turned around and found that the healer was coming anyways. So doing this dungeon right here or this final boss fight right here is pretty simple. Um, you know, it actually ended up being just as simple as it was before. And I really think that if, well, I don't think that if we had 3 DPS that were doing the same damage or more damage than me, we'd have gone through here a lot faster. Realistically, if we could have dropped, if we could have cloned ourselves, we could have picked it up a little bit. So those gauntlets, even though they're an upgrade, they're not necessarily good for me. I could have needed on them because the only other person that could have used them was the paladin, but I didn't. So those boots were really good, and unfortunately, I get a better pair of boots, so I actually just disregard them and equip them. Now, you might argue that those boots are realistically DPS boots, and you'd be right. They are DPS boots, but I don't really need any more dodge. So, I'm gonna cut up here, and I just cut directly to where I get to the zone and I quest. I just didn't feel like you guys needed to see me run all the way here, and I wanted to check and see where I was at as far as time. So definitely going to be able to get the time done. So the biggest issue that I had why I'm recording over this as opposed to directly while I play was I don't know or remember if I actually covered this, so I'll cover it now. So what ended up happening was while I was recording this, I changed some of my settings in my video recording software to record a different video for a video game called Left 4 Dead. And what I wanted to do is I didn't want to dual record my audio inputs, so I just recorded the sound coming from Windows 7 as opposed to directly from my mic. Well, when I went to launch the video game this morning, I was going to record a dungeon for somebody that had requested a specific dungeon be re-recorded, run from the point of view of the monk. Well, and as awesome as that was going, I realized that I didn't actually, and I changed my settings in Fraps, but I didn't realize that what I had actually done was to turn off the video recording, the sound. And so, and that's what I do in the dungeons. I'll record it and then I add video over it. But what I didn't do was press record, so I actually didn't end up even capturing that video that I recorded, which really kind of irritated me. And so then I was like, all right, well, because I didn't want to run directly back into that dungeon and do it over again. Let's hop on and do some Let's Play video and get that out for people. And so I hop on here, and I didn't go in and change my audio video settings on my video capture. So, the entire time while I was recording this, I was adding commentary. All of that commentary was lost because it wasn't recorded. Kind of a big kick in the teeth as far as time goes, because what I ended up doing is going into the video editing software and just recording audio over it. So as opposed to, you guys getting all the reactions directly from what's going on in the environment, it kind of sucked because I had to come out and actually just re-record it. So a lot of that, like, oh no, I'm gonna die, where are you at, heels kind of commentary got put out of there a little bit, and you definitely don't feel the same sense of urgency that you're gonna feel in running these dungeons by, or just doing world content in general when you're when you're just recording audio over what you've already done, which is kind of why I do like the Let's Plays, because it's more, besides being a little bit more time efficient as far as getting the videos out, you definitely do get more more expression of what's going on in the game. So doing these quests, I'm actually having quite a bit of fun actually getting them accomplished and doing them. But the biggest issue of what's going on with these guys was I didn't realize that they were hunters, essentially, and they can shoot you. So, I pulled more guys than I needed to. I could have just killed the two, but I thought that I could group them up and just kill them for a little bit more EXP. So, I'm going to go ahead and go turn in these and get the flight path. The first flight path that I realized that I needed was actually, the gold one directly there to the left. So that's the first one I'm going to go to. Unfortunately, I do also need the other one in order to be able to fly back here. And since, my hangout's kind of in Stormwind, it's definitely a good idea for me to be able to fly back here, as opposed to, spending the additional time running back and running around trying to get what needs to be done accomplished. But most of that time spent actually traversing the terrain and getting to where I need to go. Whereas with the flight pass, and as much as people complain about the flight pass and wish that they could be instantaneous, and I'm not going to say that I don't wish they could be instantaneous, but what they do for me is they get me to where I need to go, and then all I have to do is, walk away from the computer for a few minutes in order to get there. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cut directly to the flight path so that you guys can see that and we don't have me just running around looking at the map a bazillion times. Alright, so here I am. I'm climbing up the hill to get the flight path, and I think that this is going to be the end of the video, but I, like a good person, I double check in order to make sure that the flight path's actually going to work. And thankfully that I did that, because it was not going to work. So now I know that, I should go over here and check and see if I can get to a flight path by selecting this other blue one. And there's nothing interesting that pops up here other than me toggling my map on and off to make sure that I'm going the correct way. So I'm just going to skip directly to that for you guys. So there we have it, getting to the other flight point, and I find out that it's good, so I'm going to go ahead and end the video here. Thank you guys. I really do enjoy the time that you guys spend with me watching these videos, so if you would please like, comment below, and if you haven't subscribed and you've gotten this far, please go ahead and subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. As always, Arjax out.